Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rhetoric. Egberto is your host. Thank you so kind of being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard. Lee Grant is in the house. We've got a program going on. I don't know what you mean. Let's see. What's the short about, Lee? We also have Lee Lee is from Montgomery County. Bridge MCP says, hi, peeps. Bridge is from Binghamton, New York. Eric Hayes is in the house from from Atascocita, Kingwood. Of course, we have Maywood in the house from Long Beach, California, and Michael Rudnan, the venerable Michael Rudnan from Brooklyn, New York. Hey, my peeps are here, and you're slowly checking in. You're slowly checking in. Folks, check on in. Let's have a chat. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today. Pretty sure that link is trash as they open with the usual BLM blaming nonsense. Again, look. BLM is a legitimate organization that was formed for a legitimate reason. And guess what? I participated in many a Black Lives Matter event. And the wonderful thing about the Black Lives Matter event is there were around the entire country white allies all over the place, Latino allies, Asian allies. I remember when we were in St. Louis, Missouri, with Black Lives Matter. Actually, what happened is we went there with Netroots Nation. I don't remember what year it was, but we had it in St. Louis. If you look up Netroots Nation and St. Louis, you can see what year it was. Well, we were having our meetings, and the Black Lives Matters commandeered our hotel, well, our convention center, and said, here is a progressive group in town. And we don't see you guys participating with Black Lives Matter for something that happened right around the corner. We were in St. Louis, Missouri. And if you remember, Michael Brown got murdered by the cop in a little town outside of St. Louis. And in fact, I have pictures with a couple of congresswomen that I went to visit the location where he lied dead. And they came in and they said, how can a progressive organization be here and not marching with us? So we joined them, locked hands, walked down the main street in downtown St. Louis, went up past the stadium, went up to the freeway. And remember what I said, what is protest for? Protest is to make people uncomfortable so they will stop their everyday work and see what's going on. So we shut down the freeway, and I'm there recording as we're shutting down the freeway, etc., and locking hands. And I remember when on the other side of the freeway, that was an elevated freeway, and I'm looking down, and I'm seeing opposite to the flow of the freeway, because we shut down the freeway, opposite to the flow, a whole rain of police cops, officers, the cruisers are racing down. And in my mind, I'm in the back, but because the cruisers are coming from that side, they'll pass me and the crew that we were in first. And then all I could say is, my God, I came to St. Louis and I'm going to be arrested, because again, we shut it down. But let me tell you a great thing that happened over there. I never forgot this. I never forgot this. Remember, I said this was a protest, Black Lives Matter protest, and within the Black Lives Matter group in St. Louis, there are a lot of white allies participating as well. And when the police, and this was, I think I have this on video as well, as the police cars are coming, the Black Lives Matter leader said, white allies to the front. And all the white folks in that thing came around in the front of the group and locked arms. They locked arms and shielded the entire street. So you had several rows of white folks locking hands, and the idea was that was the shield against the police. It was surreal. I'm there recording and doing this stuff. It was surreal how that occurred. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That is all people joining together to fight an evil force. That was a great, great thing that occurred there. Anyway, continuing to welcome our folks in. Let's see if anybody else came in. Anyway, let's go ahead and start the program. Michael Ruddin has a long one from Mother Jones. It says, youth activists score huge climate win in Hawaii. The state of Hawaii agreed to decarbonize its transportation by 2045. Hawaii officials have announced a groundbreaking legal settlement with a group of young climate activists, which they said will force the State Department of Transportation to move more aggressively towards a zero emission transportation system. You got to start somewhere. Hawaii Governor Josh Green told the 13 young plaintiffs in the case, saying he hoped the settlement would inspire similar actions across the country. You have a constitutional right to fight for life sustaining climate policy, and you have mobilized our people in this case. Under what legal experts called a historic settlement, announced on Thursday, Andrea Rogers, one of the attorneys representing the plaintiffs in the case, said at a press conference with the governor that Hawaii officials will release a roadmap to fully decarbonize the state's transportation system, taking all actions necessary to achieve zero emissions no later than 2045 for ground transportation, sea and island air transportation. Denise Antolini, an emeritus professor of law at the University of Hawaii Law School, said it's a big deal, as everyone said it. It's written down, it's enforceable, and makes all the difference in the world between a promise and actual implementation. And let me tell you, I'm so happy to hear that. But earlier this morning, I gave a rant about the judiciary and about minority rule. And in as much as that is so true, in as much as all of that is true, that they got it on paper, so forth, believe it or not, the Supreme Court has been so rogue that they can defy state rights on this issue, rule it somehow against the civil rights of corporations, and somehow overturn this. That is where we are at today in our history because of a flawed constitution, because of an evil system, not an evil system, a party governed by evil people. They can actually change that. I'm not talking about party, our regular party rank and file. I'm talking about the leadership. The evil that reigns is a possibility. Anyhow, Mike Rodden also say, while I'd say this is some rather good news coming out of Hawaii, as they've seen what happens with global warming induced with wildfire hurricanes, if the same model isn't adopted nationwide, it will be too little too late to make a difference. That is true. But again, we are the ones empowered, and we have to use the power that we have. I'm sorry I didn't cut that rant out. I'm going to cut it out tomorrow and probably play it. All right, cut it out tonight and probably play it tomorrow because Radden, you're absolutely right. All right, Eric Hayes says, Dems think so. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said this week that he believes the criminal case and civil case against former President Trump in New York should have never been brought because it was weaponizing the justice system for political reasons. Cuomo added, the Attorney General case in New York, frankly, should never have been brought. And if his name was not Donald Trump, and if he was running for president, I'm the former AG in New York, I'm telling you that case would have never been brought. And that's what is offensive to people. And Governor Cuomo, it's amazing that you love that quote from Governor Cuomo, but you didn't like a lot of what he did, Mr. Hayes. But Governor Cuomo is completely wrong. Donald Trump is such a criminal that just like we had to get Capone and the others on these other issues, they needed and had to get him on this particular issue. And these are cases that they prosecute all of the times. Cuomo is simply wrong. Cuomo is trying to seek favor with the same people that right now that is giving Donald Trump a helping hand. And what Cuomo is attempting to do as well is, in case Donald Trump is a winner, Donald Trump will have in his repertoire where Governor Cuomo said, oh my God, we shouldn't have prosecuted Trump. He's just covering his bases. No, Donald Trump is a criminal that needs to pay the price. All right, continuing. Let's see. Coming down. Lee Grant says we have a program going on. pro-Hamas and Hezbollah extremists violently attack American Jews in Los Angeles, and the politicians ordered the police to do nothing to defend them. Look, anytime you attack innocent people, you should be prosecuted, no doubt. Now, I can guarantee you that when it says the politicians ordered the police to do nothing to defend them, that makes no sense. Anybody who believes that statement, I have some crack ready for you to smoke. That's a silly say. No politicians and their right rockers are going to tell any group not to defend themselves when they're being attacked. That makes no sense, and just on its face, one should disregard it. All right, let's continue. Michael says, Egberto, the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020 was a nonviolent movement against police brutality, and it was met with more police brutality. When white allies stood between black protesters and police, it was a beautiful thing, and we did it several times. I remember we did that in St. Louis, and we had another Black Lives Matter march here in Houston where we had that same kind of behavior as well. Very important. Eric Hayes says Bragg does his anti-criminal job, letting violent offenders go free. Classic. Well, of course, that's a lie, but again, that is what they give you, and then you regurgitate the lie. All right, let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Hillary endorsed opponent of Jamal. She did? Well, I tell you what, I wasn't a Hillary fan. I voted for her because that was my only choice after after they did all their tricks to make sure Bernie didn't become the representative of the country, which he would have won the election. I am convinced of that now. All right, Jamal Bowman is under absolute attack, not just from Bill and Hillary Clinton and these APAC and war lobbyists, but also big dollars, but from underlying forces that have been trying to disseminate communities for hundreds of years. Yeah, I so badly want Jamal Bowman to win because I want to see a win that beats money from APAC. I want to see APAC spend all that money to lose because then they are not going to have it to spend in the general as much as well, then again, corporate money is limitless, right? So that's stupid what I just said on my part. But at least they'll have a little bit less, right? Jamal Bowman, New York 16, being primaried by racism. He is being primaried by greed. He is being primaried by political and economic corruption. We cannot let them win New York 16 primary tomorrow, the 25th of June. You know what's great? AOC and many others were out there, and he's out there in the community campaigning like no other. I don't see his opponent doing a lot of campaigning like that. He probably thinks the election is bought and paid for, and therefore he's a sure win. That's what he believes. But it is important that Jamal Bowman wins. Otherwise, what it's going to also do is put the fear. APAC is going to be able to convince many folks that, hey, you don't vote the way we want you to vote, we're going to primary you out. To which I tell these politicians that are subject to being primaried out, start building your defense and start building what you're going to do after Congress. Because I tell you what, you're standing up for progressive values is not only good in Congress, it's good everywhere all the time. So let's be clear about that. Jamal Bowman has my support. Michael Radin says Hillary Clinton needs to go back to the forest and stay there. Every time Hillary comes back into the limelight, she does the Democratic Party a disservice. I got to agree with that if she's supporting the opposition to Bowman. All right, Maywood says this again. Does Eric understand? Can someone copy paste this again? Alvin, oh, I saw that. Yeah. Anyway. All right, the first video that I want to show you is a former conservative, Jennifer Rubin. She was a good Reaganite, as I recall, etc. And I don't know imagine if she had spoken like this about Trump before. Well, let me just go ahead and play it, and then we'll take it on the other side. Check this out. We'll be back. I remember when Jennifer Rubin, who is now a political consultant, I remember her writings. I remember when she was a staunch conservative. I wish that back in 2014 and 2015, as Donald Trump was pondering what he was going to do as far as attempting to run for president, that these people were this poignant in the way they spoke about it, that they were this accurate in the way they spoke about Donald Trump. But they pretty much gave him a pass back then, gave him plausibility. I don't know if what she's saying now is too little, too late, but at least it gives some context as to who this dude really is. He had never been someone with somebody with much upstairs. That's why he went bankrupt so many times. That's why he lives a life of criminality. That is why he doesn't even know how to do so many things, but have others do it for him, get in trouble for him, just based and using his name recognition. Listen to what this conversation between Ali Velshi and Jennifer Rubin, because I tell you something, what she says speaks volumes, and it's pretty damn accurate.
Jennifer, you pointed out something to me. Donald Trump's going to be talking tomorrow. You often are with me on Sunday mornings after he does these rallies, and you never know what he's going to do. He's either going to dial up his authoritarian rhetoric to an 11, but increasingly these days, he's just saying ridiculous things. The whole sharks and electrocution matter. I don't know what he was talking about with Joe Biden and fingers. He just says these nonsensical things. And the crowd kind of goes along with it like they're in on the joke. I'm pretty clear nobody knew what he was talking about when he was talking about sharks and batteries and electrocution and choosing death by shark over death by electrocution. I do think how are we supposed to have this conversation? People talk about Joe Biden and his age. What about Donald Trump and the weird stuff that he just comes up with, these non sequiturs, Hannibal Lecter referring to him as if he was a real person? What are you supposed to do about this?
He's nuts. Whether he's clinically nuts, whether he's medically nuts, I'm not prepared to say. But his brain does not function properly. He leaps from one topic to the other. He has non sequiturs. He believes in preposterous things. Sometimes he can't even get a word out. He makes a sound instead. Something is seriously wrong with him. But what we have, of course, is the emperor has no clothes. Those crowd cult members, of course, don't admit that he's a lunatic and that there's something bad with his brain. They simply stand there cheering along. And no one has the guts to say, gosh, he makes no sense. So it's going to be really interesting. And I have encouraged the Biden campaign and the president through my writing. I don't know whether he's going to take the advice to turn to Donald Trump when he does this at the debate and say, I don't know what the hell you just said. You sound nuts. It's not until he's confronted, until people point out that he is incoherent, that he is, in some sense, not all there, that I think you break down the illusion. And, he thrives because people pretend and fill in the blanks and treat him like he's a normal or even a super normal person. And he's not. He's wholly uninformed, he's dumb, and he's dangerous.
I know our viewers don't tend to like to watch these rallies.
So yes, what she has to say is so true. There is something not right in the guy's mind. Yes, he's a narcissist, but it's deeper than that. But the thing that I think makes him the most dangerous for the presidency is one of the last statements she made, where she says, he's wholly uninformed, dumb, and dangerous. Because again, he has the mind of a child. He executes his vengeance and concerns with the same attitude of a child. And I don't mean a senior in high school. I don't mean an older middle school student. I'm talking about he has the aptitude of likely not a very articulate elementary school student. And that is sad. It is sad that we have people in this country who, because of many factors, because of many grievances, would try to stick it to the system by putting the country in danger by electing somebody that, as Rubin says, wholly uninformed, dumb, and dangerous, and not all there. Dumb, dangerous, and not all there. Man, does that describe Donald Trump or what? Dumb, dangerous, and not all there. Amazing. Anyhow, folks, so continuing la discusión, let's see what we got here. If anybody else joined with us, folks, the telephone number, if you want to call in, is 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. I'm going to hold off from the next video for a couple minutes to see if anybody wants to call in and make any comments. After that, I'll go straight to the other video. So I'm going to wait a couple minutes. I'm into 30 seconds of the wait already, but we are going to get busy with the other video in a minute. Let's go ahead and do this one, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let's go. Not all journalists have the courage to do what Ali Velshi did yesterday in a monologue as he described what the Supreme Court has yet to rule on and much more. But what he did is made the case why Donald Trump is a clear and present danger and why America must, in fact, defeat Trumpism. I want you to listen to this piece in detail. I chopped it up so that it'll fit in a more in a tighter time, but I don't think I missed anything. Check out this soliloquy by Ali Velshi. It could not have been done any better.
Chief Justice Roberts, in the majority opinion, wrote, quote, "The laws confirm what common sense suggests. When an individual poses a clear threat of physical violence to another, the threatening individual may be disarmed. When an individual poses a clear threat, that threatening individual may be disarmed. Does it apply to this individual?"
Those J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election.
The Supreme Court again today said nothing about that individual. He's not trying to buy a gun. He's trying to get complete immunity for the effort to overthrow the election that culminated in the violent attack on the Capitol on January the 6th, calling the convicted attackers his warriors, victims. Those are the people who beat police officers, hunted members of Congress, threatened to hang the vice president. He's repeating the lie that the election he lost was rigged. He has not been deterred in the least. He's doubling down. Trump is saying that he will pardon these criminals, offering them immunity and possibly the opportunity to do it again. And the court said nothing on that today, even though it's been 6 months since Special Prosecutor Jack Smith asked for expedited consideration of this matter. 4 months since a federal appeals court panel unanimously ruled that Trump should be disarmed by simply making him subject to the law like everyone else in this country. In the meantime, Donald Trump has been convicted by a jury of 34 felonies related to his effort to influence the 2016 election. And still, the Supreme Court is effectively immunizing Trump by helping him run out the clock on federal prosecution. Trump today is worse than he was in 2016 or in 2020. And he and the country will be worse if he is returned to the presidency. To protect democracy, America must defeat Trumpism. If Trump is able to come back from inciting an insurrection, the message will be that lawlessness wins, criminality wins, fraud wins, sexual assault wins, overthrowing the will of the voters wins, threatening to assassinate the vice president for upholding the Constitution wins, beating police officers wins, threatening judges and prosecutors and juries wins. If Trumpism wins, the candidate who comes after Trump will be worse because they won't be pretending like some Republican senators who are cowards but know exactly who Trump is.
This is now multiple rallies where people are assaulted and beat up, where a guy gets sucker punched by one of the Trump supporters. And then instead of condemning it, Trump is silent. When the guy is released from jail, he says the next time maybe we should kill the protester. Again, there's silence. Then he goes on stage and just makes things up. He keeps telling the story about a general who dipped bullets into pig blood and shot a bunch of prisoners, of Muslim prisoners. Not only is it outrageous, it's a lie. He has said to people, basically, beat up the protesters and beat up the hecklers and I'll pay your legal bills. There are people out there that are not completely in control of themselves. And they hear something like this from a leader. You don't know what they're going to do next. This notion that a president can just say anything they want, or even a presidential candidate can say anything they want, whatever comes to mind, it's just not true, and it's reckless, and it's dangerous.
You're not going to hear that anymore as Marco Rubio is on the short list to be a vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump. Instead of Trump paying those protesters legal bills, his supporters pay his legal bills now. His lies and attacks have led to death threats. In Judge Cannon's courtroom, every Trump objection is infinitely more important than voters learning through a criminal trial whether the former president stole classified documents, left them fully accessible to bad actors at his golf club, and what lengths he went to stop the government from getting those documents back. You cannot have a successful democracy when the governing vision of one of the two parties is Trumpism.
A lot of Republican politicians have surrendered to it. Of course, many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him. They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party. They're just too afraid to say it out loud. I feel no need to kiss the ring. I have no fear of Trump's retribution.
That was a great speech. She spoke truth to power. And you know what happened next? She said she's voting for Trump. But did you hear those cheers? That was Republican voters cheering the words, I have no fear of Trump. Trump lost 16% of the vote in the Republican primary in Pennsylvania, 18% of the vote in the Republican primary in Arizona, 20% of the vote in the Republican primary in Wisconsin. All of those elections, all of those primaries were held after Nikki Haley dropped out. So even when there isn't somebody running against him, he's losing those numbers. Those voters weren't voting for Haley. They were voting for a better, saner party. Republicanism without Trumpism. Voting for what I like to call Myrna. Make Republicans normal again. I don't know if the Republican Party will become better if Trump loses, but I know our democracy will absolutely be worse if he wins. People in a functioning, healthy democracy are not forced to wait on tenterhooks, wondering, today, will democracy hold? Or will the Supreme Court give the guy who lost by 7 million votes a free pass for his coup? As former Attorney General Eric Holder put it, there is no cavalry coming. You are it. It's up to the voters to show that Trumpism is a loser and democracy will ultimately win. And honestly, is it really so hard to stand up to this?
So there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. Joe Biden's forming, granting mass thinking.
This is what we need journalism to do over and over again. Spill the truth, spill the context, and then hope. Well, not hope, urge that the American people react as they should, see things as they should, see things the way they really are. That is what Ali Velshi did here, both with the narrative and the examples governing the narrative. Look, America, the truth of the matter is this. Donald Trump is a convicted felon, but while he is officially a convicted felon on the case in New York, a state case, the reality is Donald Trump is a felon even before he was legally called a felon, based on all that he's done, the misogyny, based on the theft of a 501c3, based on the selling of a university that really wasn't a university, based on stiffing people. There are so many illegalities this guy did, selling the White House right now, selling the White House to billionaires. Is that what you really want to hire as the president? The guy who actually said, inject bleach or put bleach in your orifices to solve the problem that he made very worse in a pandemic? I think it's high time for these pollsters or these polls to start reflecting some reality here. America cannot be this deceived. America cannot be this gullible. That is one of the reasons I contend that there will be a fever break that leads to a landslide. You can fool people for so long. People's prejudices can work for so long. People's carnality can work for so long. But when they realize that something ultimately becomes an existential threat, at that point, I think the change occurs. And I think that point occurs definitely before November when people will start making the right choices. Ali Velshi is correctly right. America must defeat Trumpism, because Trumpism is nothing more than pure, unadulterated evil. Absolutely pure and unadulterated evil. Welcome aboard, Marxist for Biden. Let me tell you something, Marxist for Biden. I don't ever think that we need to lie about Biden slowing down, about Biden. You know, the guy's accomplishment should stand on its own, right? Yes, he's old. It's an old man. He walks like an old man. He talks like an old man. He everything he does like an old man. But you know what? He's an old man accomplishing things. He's an old man that has done more for progressives than any other president that we've had to date. So while I would have preferred a younger, more energetic, more progressive candidate, I can't say that I will have a problem voting for a Biden over a Donald Trump. Because again, I'm getting substance versus quackery, substance versus dishonesty, substance versus bona fide evil. And there's no two ways about it. Substance versus bona fide evil. All right, let's see what else we got here. Melissa Bowie says, thanks for a little experience history on BLM. And there I was thinking BLM is a cover for LGBTQ plus ABC. Nope, 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 nope. BLM is real. In fact, let me tell you another BLM story. Back when, well, let me get to Ray, and then I'll tell you that story. Brother Ray, how you doing, my brother?
Well, brother, I'm just listening to your opine, and brother Ali Velshi, you know, you got to keep on doing. You know, brother Ali Velshi and Joe Biden, you know, when it comes to the case of Donald Trump, you know, he was convicted. Well, let's look at it two ways. He was found guilty and liable in civil court, first of all, for charges that normally would be criminal, but he passed the statute of limitations. But he is technically a convicted rapist and things like that. But what I believe the prosecution they had the easiest job in the world, and that was putting Donald Trump on trial and creating reasonable doubt. I mean, look at him. You know, listen to what he says. You know, I mean, he puts his foot in his mouth every time he talks. And I know what I said this morning, I'm scared. But that comes from a place of basically saying, you know, I know what can be the outcome if we do the work. But basically what we're doing right now is we are, you know, we're putting Donald Trump back on trial, but in the trial of public opinion. And in the trial of public opinion, you have, 300, 400 million jurors who have to vote. And basically, Joe Biden is the prosecutor in this case. And what Joe Biden has to do is simply make the case that Trump is a freaking moron and unfit to run the greatest country in the world. And I mean, Trump is pretty much doing a good job of that by himself. So, you know, I am optimistic that at some point, Trump will have a moment where he just says the dumbest thing. And Joe Biden will look to him once again and say, shut up, man.
Look, let me tell you, Ray, I can't tell you how much I agree with you, but I'm going to differ with you. One thing, I am not going to talk the word fear. I'm talking the word go out there and perform. And like I told you this morning, you are out there doing your job. You are out there with the organizations that are going to make a difference, specifically in specific communities that you're working on with TOP and others. You are going to make a difference in this election. What I told everybody this morning is about their sphere of influence. We all have spheres of influence here. And your sphere of influence is enough to plant the seed that lets people open their eyes and see the moron that exactly what Ray talked about, that exactly what Jennifer Rubin talked about, that exactly what Ali Velshi talks about, and that exactly what his own cabinet talk about. We can't forget that when his energy secretary first left, the first thing he said is he called Donald Trump. I don't remember the specific word, but in effect, one of the dumbest guys that he's ever stood with. And he resigned, of course. But I mean, look, you nailed it, Ray. Anything else, my brother, before I go on?
I just want to basically nail it home with the conservative that's listening. Like, look, y'all are the jury in this particular trial. Do the right thing. Vote guilty, meaning vote for Biden. And that means that Trump has been convicted in the court of public opinion, and his sentence is he is banned from ever holding public office in this great land. That's it.
Thank you very much, Ray. You're a good man. Thank you. And you keep pushing. No fear. We are going ahead and win this stuff. Not just win it by a little bit. This will be a landslide. Thank you, my brother.
All right, bro.
Take care. Listening. All right. Let me tell you, Mademoiselle, I have sometime I lose my train of thought. I was talking to, what was I talking? Oh, I was talking about BLM. I was talking about BLM, and I was talking to Melissa Bowie. All right, Melissa, let me give you another quick story. But before I tell that story, since we left with Brother Ray talking about Trump, Bridge MCP gave a good one here, and I want all of our conservatives to remember that. And sorry for the blinking screen, but I'm going to read it anyway. It says, Donald Trump had 4 years to pass an infrastructure bill. He didn't. And by the way, he had the entire Senate, House, and the executive. Of course, he had the ability to pass it. It wasn't divided government. He had it all. He couldn't pass an infrastructure bill. He had 4 years to repeal and replace Obamacare. He didn't do it. He had 4 years to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. He didn't do it. And they didn't. He had 4 years to lower middle class taxes, bring back the coal industry, eliminate the deficit, lower prescription drug prices, revive American manufacturing, protect people with pre-existing conditions, end the opioid crisis, drain the swamp, and lock up Hillary Clinton. He didn't do any of it. Everything he said that he promised all of you folks that voted for him that he was going to do, he failed. He was unable to do it. So how the heck could anyone be dumb enough to think he'd do any of it the next time around? Now, if we compare records, Biden didn't go out and call every week Infrastructure Week. He didn't. But guess what? He passed the largest infrastructure bill ever. He didn't go out there and said, I'm going to bring back manufacturing into America and not do it. But guess what? He passed the CHIPS Act, employing people all over the country by bringing back industries that had long gone. Biden didn't say, by the way, I am going to reduce poverty by a bunch in the aggregate. But when he passed the stimuli, he made sure that stimuli took brought down the child poverty rate to the lowest amount ever, right? Because of the money he was willing to spend. Instead of giving the money to the wealthy, even though they got a whole bunch of it, a lot of it went to the middle class and poor folk, brought it up. When it was time to re-up it, 2 turncoats, the representative, the senator from West Virginia, Manchin, and the senator from Arizona, what's her name? Sinema. Turncoats prevented the continuation of keeping kids out of poverty. So they voted along with the Republicans to keep kids in poverty. So again, we have to remember what Bridge MCP put there. And let me put that back on the screen. These are the things he promised. And who got them accomplished? Joe Biden and the Democrats. Don't ever forget it. So he talks. He talks a good game. But who actually got it done? The current president. And again, I'm no fan of Joe Biden, but I'm sure as hell voting for him again. I'm sure as hell voting for him again. All right, let's see what else we got here. Damien 8 says, you people are out of your minds. I don't know who you're talking about. You never hate over your enemies. It affects your judgment. Michael Corleone, both you guys and De Niro learned nothing from the Godfather films. Why would I learn something from the Godfather film? You just said it. It's a film. It's not a reality. And that lefties is your tedious defined. I don't know what that means. Joe Biden embraced mockery of biological women, kept the borders open and innocent kill, embraced pervert. Again, you know what? You can keep believing that, but the evidence and the facts are facts. Michael Radin says, gotta love it when we talk about global warming, infrastructure investments, universal healthcare, and Medicare for all, raising wages and enacting living wages, and then the right wing bubble still managed to bring us back to the Trump horror. It's amazing. It's completely amazing. It's completely amazing. But you know what? It doesn't matter, folks, because like I said, the fever will break and Brother Biden will win in a landslide. All right, continuing with our program. Mr. Rational says, I am a progressive. I don't like people who kill homosexuals and treat women like chattel. Therefore, I don't like Hamas and I don't like Jamal Bowman. Why do you? Jamal Bowman is a very solid progressive. And the fact that you just made those comments about Jamal, right, actually proves that money sometimes can get to the narrative and make one have a wrong decision. If you think the guy that's running against Jamal is any good or is any good for the progressive movement, I have a bridge to sell you. Jamal doesn't believe in anything that you just said there. I know Jamal. Jamal is a solid progressive who believes in making sure Jews, Palestinians, and everybody have equal access to success and also have life. What Israel is doing in Palestine, in Gaza right now, is genocide. You can choose not to accept it. You can choose to not believe your eyes. You can choose to see the decimation of Gaza, building after building, cracked bones after cracked bones, dead babies after dead babies, dead women after dead women, cracked down, blown up into rubble. And just go 10 miles up the road to Tel Aviv, to Haifa, to Jerusalem, to all these cities that are purportedly under attack from others, and people are going to their cafes and the buildings are standing and people can go and live their lives. And you're going to tell me who the oppressor is? I love my Jewish brothers and sisters. I love my Palestinian brothers and sisters. But the politics that is occurring in Israel right now is apartheid and genocide. And you don't have to ask anybody. You can open your eyes. That's all it takes. Open your eyes. You don't have to listen to TikTok. You don't have to listen to anything else. Just open your eyes. Anyhow, continuing. Michael Radin says, Egberto, Damien isn't making any sort of sense. No, he's not. You're right. I think he's a bot and he's can't tell the difference about those who are replying to him. You know, joke. But anyhow, let's see what else we got here. Billy Allison, welcome aboard. Didn't you hear from the late Hannibal? Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. How you doing, beautiful Melanie? Let's see what else we got here. I'm scrolling down. And if I miss your comment, please forgive me. Latimer is run by the Democratic majority for Israel. Outside spending, New York raised $23 million a while ago, much of it from AIPAC and Super PAC. Yep, we need Bowman to win. And the reason why we need Bowman to win is to show that you can't buy these elections. It is so important. It is so important. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Coming down. United Democracy Project, which has spent at least 4.5 billion. Okay. Let me go ahead and tell you that little well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and play my last video and then we'll come back. It's about one of the sycophants from Trump on the display yesterday. Well, all the sycophants that are trying to become Donald Trump's vice president or maybe on Donald Trump's cabinet, you know, they're out on Sunday morning shows praising to the mighty Donald Trump and defending the mighty Donald Trump. Now they're trying to reverse the thing that what we all know, that Donald Trump has wet dreams about being a dictator. Well, good old Doug Burgum was on CNN's State of the Union, and he thought that he was going to be able to pull a fast one over a young and smart young host. I think she did a fairly good job compared to other hosts. Again, maybe a lot of that comes with youth, and I am just going to confront you. But anyhow, Burgum wants you to believe that the one that is a dictator is Biden. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I want to ask you about something that you've been saying repeatedly about President Biden. Take a listen to this.
Talk about, being a dictatorship. This is what's happening under Biden. Under Joe Biden, we're actually living under a dictatorship today. If you want to find out what it's like to live in a dictatorship, we're living in one now. So we know what it's like under a dictatorship, and that dictatorship right now is Joe Biden.
I understand you don't like President Biden's policies on immigration or student loans, but respectfully, I mean, you're calling the democratically elected president a dictator?
Well, we've got three branches of government, and this president, more like any other, has bypassed Congress because as a governor of a natural resources state and a big ag state, we're facing over 30 rules and mandates. Each one of those could be 800 pages to 1,400 pages long. None of them have come from Congress, and all of them could literally kill the industries that we have in our state, including baseload electricity, which we need to be competitive in the arms race around AI with China, who's building baseload electricity plants like 2 a month. So that's happening without Congress. And then, of course, on the student loan thing, when the Supreme Court ruled against him, then he just said, hey, we'll figure a different way to do it. So I just think that there's, again, a double standard here. He is bypassing the other two branches of government to push an ideological view, whether it's on economics or whether it's on climate extremism. He's doing that without using the other branches. And I think
you don't like his executive orders and you don't like his policies. I understand that. I don't think anyone expects the Republican governor to agree with President Biden on that. But it's not a dictatorship.
Well, I think, again, part of where this word has come from has been a nonstop media attack on President Trump, saying that he might use executive orders when he takes office. And was trying to make the point here that under this current administration, most of the changes that are driving inflation in our country, the stuff he's not doing on the border, which he could be doing with executive orders. I mean, the open borders and the inflation are things that he's doing by himself alone, ignoring the other branches of government.
Well, I counted. Trump signed 220 executive orders when he was in office. President Biden so far has only signed 139, the same, time span. And on executive action on immigration, it was Speaker Mike Johnson who was calling on President Biden to take executive action, saying it wasn't Congress's responsibility, it was his.
Let me tell you what impressed me with the host. He could have said a whole lot of different things, but there's nothing like having a host that is prepared. She points out to Burgum, the things that you're mentioning isn't about, you may disagree with it, but it's not following a dictatorship. But then she was sufficiently knowledgeable to know two things. As far as using executive authority, it is Mike Johnson of the Congress that wants the president to do that when it comes to immigration and other things that they are incapable or too divided to pass. So there we have the Republican Speaker of the House insinuating that the president should take executive actions on issues. But more importantly, she pointed out to Doug Burgum, who probably should have done his homework, that if he's calling the Biden a dictator because of the amount of executive actions he take, actions that don't require the Congress at all, that the person who had many more executive actions, and remember, there are only about 6 and change left in the first term for Biden. Donald Trump had a hell of a lot more executive actions. So again, she pointed out, she called them out, and it makes them look silly. Okay, folks, so that was an excellent piece by what's her name? The host. I can't remember her name right now, but she did such a great job in coming back and not allowing those clowns, right? Not allowing those clowns to come on TV and somehow lie to the American people like they normally do over and over and over again. Look, we're coming close to the end of the program. Anyway, yeah, sorry about that, guys. For some reason, the system locked up. I think I got up quick enough to be able to stay on the same stream, which is what I'm checking right now to make sure that we were, in fact, able to stay on the same stream. You know how that goes sometimes. You win some and you lose some. Anyway, we are close to the end of the program. And what I want all of you to do is remember, as I say all of the times, remember, we have the power. Don't ever forget it. We have the power to make the difference. It's in our hands, and we've got to remember that. Now, by the way, on YouTube, I think you had to go to the next YouTube stream, but on Facebook, I think it maintained its stream. On Twitch, I'm not sure what it did. Let's see what it did on. We probably lost it on Twitter as well. Let's see on Twitter as well. Yeah, it seems like we lost it on Twitter, but that's okay. We're about to end the program. What I want to say is thank you guys for being here with me. I want you to remember to support the program, and how to support the program. Just go to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that link in there right this minute on how to support the program. And I'd like you to go over and let's see. There we go. politicsdoneright.com/support. Mistake there, to support the program. The other option that you have is to go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I'm asking all of you who are able to do so, please support our newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please become a paid member. That is how we get to continue doing the things that we do. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank all of you for being here, irrespective of the political spectrum where you reside. This is your home. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want.